some reason it seems pretty difficult to find a genuine criticism of democracy on YouTube, and especially within Western media, such as like news sources and stuff. Our current form of democracy is often revered as the most precious thing which we have, and any threat to democracy is inherently evil. But this is actually pretty strange, because Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Nietzsche, Heidegger, Hegel, and Heraclitus are just some of the many philosophers who have criticised democracy. So the question is, were these philosophers just behind the times, as they were with many things, like slavery, racism, and sexism? Or were they onto something? In order to find out, we have to consider the arguments against democracy, and then the counter-arguments defending democracy. The most compelling argument against democracy is that the opinion of experts is given the exact same weighting and value as those who are completely ignorant about an issue. Aristotle puts it best, saying that democracy arises out of the notion that those who are equal in any respect are equal in all respects. Because men are equally free, they claim to be absolutely equal. This begs the obvious question: are all humans equal in every way? A scenario I think is great for demonstrating this issue is a game of chess with your life on the line against an above average player. Here's the twist. You have to choose between two groups to vote on your next moves. The first group is 1,000 of the best chess players in the world, and the other group is the entire population of the UK. Which group are you choosing? If you have any motivation to live, you definitely chose the first group. But why? Well, it's obvious, isn't it? It's because they're much more likely to make the best moves to win the game for you than the UK, who would have a much lower knowledge overall of chess. As a result of their knowledge and expertise, the opinion of the best players is more valuable than the opinion of the average person in the UK. So, if the opinion of top experts in their field is more valuable than the average person when our lives are on the line, why isn't it more valuable when millions of lives are on the line? Well, we shouldn't underestimate the concept of illusory superiority, in which humans naturally overestimate their knowledge and abilities. In the past, the gulf between experts and the average Joe was insurmountable, due to access to books and very, very low literacy rates. However, due to the advent of the internet and improved access to information over the past so many years, this gap has closed, but only to some extent, because this will never be enough to ignore the knowledge of experts who have spent years in their fields. So why do we only use experts' opinions selectively? Well, in the book The Death of Expertise by Tom Nichols, he details this phenomenon in great depth, where in recent years the opinions of experts have dramatically been decreased in their perceived value. He says this is because the average person now believes that their opinion is now just as informed as everyone else's, including the experts, and can actually critique them. Does that sound familiar? The devaluation of expert opinion has been a theme throughout the past few years, shown by the rise of movements which challenge the expertise of doctors, such as the anti-vax movement, as well as the fat-positive movement. But with democracy voting, this becomes especially dangerous due to a few notable characteristics. My mind was blown the first time reading The Death of Expertise, where Tom Nichols references a study conducted after the Russian annexation of the Crimea, which asked average Americans to plot Ukraine on the map, to express their views on the situation, and most importantly, whether the US should intervene with military force. Only 1 in 4 college graduates, and 1 in 6 in total, could identify Ukraine on a map, and the median responder was 1,800 miles off. But I'll just quote Tom for the rest. Map tests are easy to fail. Far more unsettling is that this lack of knowledge did not stop respondents from expressing fairly pointed views about the matter. Actually, this is an understatement. The public not only expressed strong views, but respondents showed enthusiasm for military intervention in direct proportion to their lack of knowledge about Ukraine. Put another way, people who thought Ukraine was in Latin America or Australia were the most enthusiastic about the use of US military force. This illustrates the next flaw of democracy, that it is naturally imperialistic. But that's not the only flaw of democracy. Hegel specifically argued that universal suffrage leads to electoral indifference and apathy, as the public slowly but surely lose interest in subject areas they have little interest in. This is certainly being reflected in modern politics, as the voting numbers have been consistently below 70% for the past few decades, questioning whether we even live in a true democracy in the first place. The recent uptick in American voting numbers also brings up another weakness of democracy, and that is the weakness of the human psyche to blindly follow demagogues. The rise of Donald Trump and Boris Johnson, and big personalities overall in politics, is quite unsurprising if we follow the course of Athenian democracy. Athenian democracy ended mainly due to the increased influence of demagogues in politics. This was shown through the Sicilian expedition, which was an imperialist excursion promoted by demagogues, which ended up in complete failure and severely damaged the position of Athens, as it led to the alliance of Sicily, Sparta, and the Persians, all against the Athenians. Demagogues also lead to the formation of mob rule, which is certainly being reflected in the modern day, which is highlighted through the rise of cancel culture on social media, which again is imperialistic in a sense, in that it wants to expand the power of a collective it belongs to using aggressive means, in the form of deplatforming and cancellation. So, there's loads of flaws to democracy, but what should we do then? Well, this video is getting a bit long for my taste, so I'll have posted a video maybe a day or two after this, explaining my solution to these issues and the best alternative to democracy, as well as counter-arguments and rebuttals in one after that. See you then.